Part 132. The Battle of Mu'tah. Mu'tah is the name of a small village in modern-day Jordan, which was part of the Roman province of Syria. Most early scholars refer to this event as a ghazwa, despite the prophet not attending. This is most likely due to the size and significance of the battle, with over 3,000 companions in attendance. Facing the Romans, it is also the only time the Muslims fought a non-Arab enemy in the lifetime of the prophet. Nevertheless, a ghazwa is defined by the prophet's participation, so later scholars refer to this event as a Seerah. The companions, on the other hand, referred to it as expedition of the army of the leaders, because it was the only instance where the prophet named 3 leaders. As a sobering indication of the task at hand, the prophet appointed Zayd ibn Haritha as the leader, then said, "If Zayd is killed, then Ja'far, and if Ja'far is killed, then Abdullah ibn Rawaha." It is not mentioned in reports why the prophet did not attend, despite attending forthcoming expeditions such as the expedition of Tabuk. The purpose of the battle is also not entirely clear. Al-Waqidi posits that the battle was revenge for the killing of Al-Harith ibn Umayr al-Azdi, the prophet's messenger. He was sent to the Romans, which entailed passing through Arab Christian lands, the largest of which was the Banu Ghassan, the Ghassanids, a vassal state to the Roman Empire. Al-Harith was captured by the Ghassanids, led by Shurabil ibn Amr. Despite being a messenger and thus universally protected, Shurabil tied him up, tortured him, and personally killed him. In Jumada al-Ula, 8 after Hijri, the prophet instructed the companions to head to the Ghassanids. He encouraged them to volunteer, and 3,000 companions signed up. They left on Friday morning, and Abdullah ibn Rawaha was deliberating as to whether he should leave with the army or pray the Friday prayer and catch up with them. He decided to pray the Friday prayer first, but when the prophet saw him, he asked why he did not leave with the army. Abdullah ibn Rawaha explained that he wanted the extra reward of praying the Friday prayer, but the prophet, highlighting the status of jihad, replied, "If you were to give sadaqah, charity, equivalent to all the money in this world, you would not be able to make up the reward. That is, if you had left early with the army." As the companions bade farewell to their loved ones, Abdullah ibn Rawaha began crying. Someone asked him why he was crying, to which he said,
"I am not crying due to a love for this world, nor am I crying because I am inclined towards it. I am crying thinking of the verse of the Quran where Allah said, 'There is none of you who will not pass over it,' that is, the hellfire. This is a decree your Lord must fulfill." Surah 19 verse 71. How will I fare in that crossing?
Abdullah ibn Rawaha was a formidable poet and fighter, an elite of the Ansar, and beloved by the Prophet. The Muslims traveled for over a month, and as they approached, the Ghassanids panicked and sent emissaries to every one of their allies. They called upon the Romans as well as a number of Christian Arab tribes such as Lucum, Judum, and Alkin. The Arab Christian tribes, alongside a small Roman contingent, gathered before the Muslims arrived in Mu'tah. Classical sources cite over 100,000 fighters, but that is extremely unlikely, as the Arab tribes in totality did not even comprise 100,000 people, and it is a common psychological phenomenon for large crowds to be overestimated. A more reasonable figure would be up to 10,000 fighters, which was still triple that of the Muslim army. The Muslims camped outside Mu'tah for 2 days, debating their next move. They expected to fight the Ghassanids alone, but were now faced with over double their amount. The Romans were also far more advanced in weaponry and training, and the task at hand was now vastly different to that which was initially anticipated. A group of companions suggested that they remain camped while they send a message to the prophet and await instruction. However, it would take 2 weeks for the fastest rider to travel to Medina and back. Another group suggested that they turn back, as the reality did not reflect their initial intention. Zayd ibn Haritha asked Abdullah ibn Rawaha for his advice. Zayd knew what he would say, but wanted to utilize Ibn Rawaha for his unmatched eloquence. Ibn Rawaha gave a fiery speech.
"O my people, that which you fear, that is martyrdom, is exactly what you desire. What is the matter with us? Allah will bless us with one of two beautiful things, victory or martyrdom. We know that Allah does not help us through our quantity or weapons, but rather through the Islam with which Allah has blessed us. So let us go forth and face one of the two inevitable realities.
Zayd's tactics succeeded as the troops, galvanized and resolved, marched forward. Abu Huraira's eyes widened as he saw the mammoth army ahead of him. Another companion chided him.
"What is the matter, O Abu Huraira? Are you surprised at how large the army is?"
Abu Huraira replied in the affirmative, and the companion said,
"But you were not with us at Badr. We did not win due to the size of our army."
Zayd then commanded the Muslims to charge, and he held the flag himself. As the Prophet handed the flag to Zayd personally, he refused to give it to anyone else despite being the commander. He raised the flag and charged from the front until he was surrounded on all sides and was martyred. The status of Zayd ibn Haritha cannot be understated. He is the only companion mentioned by name in the Quran. In reference to Al-Azab,
"And so when Zayd totally lost interest in keeping his wife, we gave her to you in marriage." Surah 33 verse 37.
Aisha said,
Never did the Prophet send Zayd on an expedition, except that he was the leader.
she went as far as to say,
If Zayd had been alive when the Prophet died, he would have been chosen as caliph.
after Zayd was martyred, Ja'far took the flag and fought one of the most vicious fights ever recorded in Islamic history. He fought valiantly until his horse's legs were cut off. He then fought standing, swinging with his left hand as he held the flag with his right. Eventually, someone chopped off his entire right arm, and he grabbed the flag with his left hand before it touched the ground. His left arm was then sliced off, and he grabbed the flag with his two stumps before an enemy soldier cleaved him apart from behind. Ibn Umar narrated,
After the battle, we began searching for Ja'far's body and found it under a huge pile of enemy corpses. We counted over 90 wounds across his entire body.
The Prophet said, I saw Ja'far in paradise. Allah had given him 2 wings to replace his 2 arms. Whenever Ibn Umar would pass by Ja'far's son, he would say,
Peace be upon you, O son of the one with 2 wings.
Ibn Rawaha then took the flag and took charge. Before he plunged in, he hesitated. He then rebuked his soul.
O my soul, I see you hold paradise in disdain. I swear by Allah, there you will remain, residing willingly or compelled to its shade.
He then leaped into battle and met his desire. Ibn Rawaha's hesitation beautifully epitomized the companion's humanity. He hesitated despite yearning for martyrdom for so long. His greatness was in challenging his shortcomings, as he rebuked his soul and charged forward in spite of its doubts. Thabit ibn Arqam then grabbed the flag and ran away from the melee. Turning one's back to the enemy in battle is forbidden in Islam as per the Quranic command.
O believers, when you face the disbelievers in battle, never turn your backs to them. Surah 8 verse 15.
However, the following verse stipulates an exception to the rule.
Unless it is a maneuver or to join their own troops. Surah 8 verse 16.
He shouted,
Ho Muslims, appoint a leader!
Some companions regrouped and immediately suggested that Thabit himself be the leader, but he swiftly refused. They began to scan the group, and all eyes fell on the newest convert amongst them, Khalid ibn al-Walid. When Khalid saw everyone turn to him, he said,
How could I lead?
We view Khalid as the undefeatable sword of Allah, as per the Prophet's description. However, at the time, Khalid had been Muslim for less than a month, and despite his military prowess, his reputation amongst the Muslims was yet to be earned. Nevertheless, the companions recognized his military strength and nominated him as the leader. Khalid took the flag and quickly devised a plan. He realized that preservation of life was the priority, so he formulated a 2-pronged tactic. The first stage was to organize the Muslim army to attack in a quick burst for maximum short-term impact. The method was effective, and Khalid narrated himself that he broke through 9 swords until he was left with a shield. He utilized archers to stop the Roman onslaught and caused their temporary retreat, such that by nightfall, the 2 armies were separated. The following morning, the Muslims managed to retreat entirely and leave the battlefield.